The fight is done. We lost.
All right, so I believe the war is lost. For the educated lames, for those of us who were taught to try and save the community. I'm going to diagnose the issue, and I'm going to show why I think the war is lost. We're going to start with Mr. Claud Anderson, and I'm going to post a link to this full article, this full interview, but I want you to pay attention to this. It's about a 2-minute clip, because this is really hits right home.
Because no one has addressed the negative impact of slavery on black folks. Never been addressed. Because what was the purpose of slavery? The purpose of slavery was to systematically, socially engineer black folk into the lowest level of a real-life monopoly game that was based on wealth, power, and control, what you own and control. And slavery itself then maldistributed almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, resource, privileges, and controls of all levels of government into the hands of the dominant white society. And black folk don't have enough resources to be able to be a competitive group. When black folk came out of slavery, let's say before they even went into slavery.
Okay, no, this is one of the really important reasons why I chose this video. So we understand the history of America. We know the history of America. We get that. There's a really important point in this, but we understand America is the richest country on the planet. And the history is what the history is. But listen to this next point because it's so important.
They own and control nothing. When they came out in the 1860s, a few blacks, about 250,000 black folk, had successfully acquired 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. And that was in 1860, Rock. Here you are 150 years later, black folks still own and control 1/2 of 1% of this nation's wealth. And it's wealth that controls what you get.
Okay, so I want to cross-reference this with another video, okay? So after that amount of time, in America, black people, we went from 1860, 1/10 of 1%, or what, 1/2 of 1%, 150 years later, right back in the same place. And if you look at the markers for where we are now, it's projected to continue to get worse. As a matter of fact, it might even be worse now. Now, I want you to listen to how this conversation parallels the beginning of the conversation with the Cocktails with Queens. Listen to Ice Cube.
And say, I just don't think it's that fair to the 7,000 black elected officials that have been in office.
Right, to say that they've done nothing. Right?
Yeah, because I think that is, I think that's a slippery slope to walk down. Because
So this is part of the reason why I want to play this video, is because it's going to show why I think that the war is lost. I think the war is lost. You can already hear the pushback because we understand Ice Cube was invited onto this platform, right? And so before I get into that, I just want you to listen to the argument he makes.
As we saw with Barack,
a lot of progress has been made.
It's not as simple as you get elected and bam, you can make all these changes one man.
Right.
I never said that 7,000 people, black people, have never did anything. I said that since the 60s, there's been over 7,000 black politicians elected in prominent positions. And our situation, as far as the wealth gap, hasn't changed.
Now there it is right there. So we heard Dr. Claud, Dr. Claud Anderson, he said that the change in wealth did not change anywhere from the same place in the end of the Civil War to the 1960s. And this is Ice Cube basically saying from the 1960s until now, we're in the same position that nothing has changed. Let's keep listening.
We flatlined from the 60s to now. We have not gained or closed the wealth gap. So that's the major problem. I understand we got a lot of people, working hard for progress, that the facts are it hasn't happened in the traditional way. So that's why I want to break the mold.
I just want to say, first of all,
so we see both Dr. Claud Anderson and both Ice Cube bring the true question about what the issue is to the table. Okay, we're going to go back to Dr. Claud Anderson because this is such It was posted 6 years ago, but I'm not exactly sure. It would seem, I think this is relatively recent looking at the quality of the cinematography, but let's keep listening to this conversation.
Your opportunity is going to be. And that 1/2 of 1%, what does it equate to today? That means that the typical white person right now has 3,500 times more wealth than black folk. And when you tell black folk to go out and compete with what? What are they going to compete with? They don't own and control anything. They still own and control 1/2 of 1% of anything that value in our society.
Okay, so we understand hard work. We get the hard work part of it, right? You're supposed to work, put your head down, do the hard work. But even with doing the hard work, we understand that there's an income distribution that is at play in America, okay? But that's not the total gist of this. I want you to, there's one special part that is really important, and that is going to tie back to my point when I wrap this up.
They are being burdened down with 6 to 7 times of their fair share of everything that's negative. That all the social pathology is being inflicted on them. They're the ones that are bearing the burdens of low-income housing, poverty, food stamps, welfare, dysfunctional families, no businesses, no opportunities, failing school systems. They're the ones that's being negatively impacted. Nobody has ever addressed the real issues. The civil rights movement didn't address the issues. They started talking about social integration. Social integration was not the problem with black folk, and even the concept of civil rights. They twisted and corrupted that concept. Civil rights was initially talking about what you're going to do for black folk in the country. When it came.
Okay, so you see where this is going, right? This is a discussion about what is going to be the net gain for black people. That was the point of the civil rights movement. And if you've been in this space for any amount of time, you understand how the civil rights movement was hijacked by several different groups, right? And so coming out of the civil rights era, we saw advances for a lot of the groups of people, except one. And you could point to black men, because you look at what happened in the 70s and the 80s, on into the crack epidemic, into the drug war. A lot of Gen X black men didn't make it through the other side of that in one piece. But I'm going to be quiet and let you listen.
Came out in 1865 and 1866 in this first civil rights laws. And what those civil rights laws were trying to address was correct the Dred Scott decision of 1857. And what I mean by that black folk had no rights and they could own and control nothing. And so when you had, here in Washington, D.C., you had some congressmen called radical Republicans, like Congressman Benjamin, Thaddeus, and Charles Sumter and the rest of them. They said this, that the only things that black people can ever be in America, they're either going to be free or they're going to be slaves.
Okay, now this is the really important point here. I want to make sure you get that. I want to make sure you get this all in one piece. He's talking about basically the kind of opportunity that's going to be available for black people, right? And so black people are going to have an opportunity coming out of slavery to be free or to continue to be slaves, right? So listen to him address this point.
It's that the only things that black people can ever be in America, they're either going to be free or they're going to be slaves. Minimally, to be free, they must have 40 acres, a mule, and $100. Now, immediately, Andrew Johnson, who replaced Lincoln when he got...
Okay, so he's saying that basically black people, for black people to fulfill their rightful destiny, 40 acres and a mule, right? We heard about that. We studied about that in the textbooks. What happened with that?
Got assassinated, he vetoed it. And after he vetoed it, when the conservatives took over the control of black folk, the Northerners walked away from it, left them, abandoned them. Black folk were forced into Jim Crow, segregation, and peonage. And they corrupted the whole concept of civil rights and made it a civil issue for everybody. Nobody's ever enslaved the gays, the midgets, the humpbacks, women, Asians, Arabs, Hispanic, and American Indians. They enslaved black folk. That's why it's critically important, to go back to one of your earlier questions, for people to understand. When you start talking about issues, about rights, the Dred Scott decision said the black man has no rights. It didn't say the Asian man.
Okay, so you hear what he's saying. That at the end of the civil rights movement, where we were thinking, okay, we did it now. We've gotten to the place where we wanted to get, and that just kept getting kicked down the road. And things just never fell in our favor. And if things don't fall in our favor, they didn't fall in our favor post-slavery, they didn't fall in our favor in the civil rights area, they didn't fall in our favor after a black president. Let's wrap this one up.
The Arab man, the Mexican man, the Indian man, it says the black man. So what's happening now is that the whole concept of civil rights and social integration, all this has been distributed, and it's been corrupted into what we call fabricated classes. They're getting all the benefits that black folks should be getting today. All these, and it's intentionally and being designed to make sure everything is moved away from black folk and the lock in the box stays on black folks so they never get out of it.
What do you see in that no bucking, no vote? Who's represented in that video? Straight men? Are straight black men represented in that video? No. Who died for the civil rights area? Who fought for the civil rights? Or who fought in the civil rights era? Those are black men. Straight black men did that. Yes, right? And everybody jumped on the bandwagon, right? And so, and we could talk about the civil rights era. That's not what I think is the pressing concern. This is just a history to set up this next clip. Okay, so we saw the first part of the Cocktails with Queens, but I want you to listen to Ice Cube talk about. This is the discourse, right? So when we understand the history, right? You know, the post-slavery, Reconstruction, Jim Crow, civil rights, on to the black president. All of that, we've established that, right? And at no point did, you know, the American government hasn't even issued a formal apology yet. But that aside, this is what happens when you try to bring the discourse back to the black community. This is the discourse we're trying to have with our black community. And listen.
Because we've been just waiting for Democrats to get back in.
I do not agree with you on that statement. There has been a lot of people that have asked him, what about the wall? What about the kids in cages? I mean, there's a lot of things that, trust
I understand
me,
that.
I'm not going to give him no plus signs whatsoever.
But check.
So basically what Vivica Fox is saying is that under no circumstances will I allow, you know, the other party to believe that they have any bargaining chips with me. We're lock, stock, and barrel for one particular party. And the politics aside, the politics isn't the issue. It's a bargaining issue. You're gonna hear Ice Cube speak to that, okay?
Check this out. I'm talking about pressing him to give things to black people. These are country issues. I'm talking about black people pressing him to give things to black people. Everybody treated him like the boogeyman. Nobody would go and press him to give things to black people. The stuff that he's doing to the rest of the country, I understand that, but we raggedy. We got to get our. We have to.
Now listen to the pushback. Listen to the pushback. What did Ice Cube say here? Let rewind it so you can hear it. Listen to what Ice Cube said here.
To black people. Everybody treated him like the boogeyman. Nobody would go and press him to give things to black people. The stuff that he's doing to the rest of the country, I understand that, but we raggedy. We got to get our. We have to.
What Ice Cube's point is, look out for black people first, right? That's his only point, right? Just look out for black people first, so we can press both parties. That's the argument, right? It sounds relatively logical to me. Now listen to the pushback.
We have to press any president that ends up winning. We have to press, or it's not going to work. We can't just press one side.
He says when we do press them that the other people are fine people. I mean, is that right? I mean, and he won't denounce the people that hurt us and suppress us, and and then the policeman had his neck on somebody's neck for 9 minutes. He never support them.
So you can see the pushback, right? We're trying to have the Ice Cube is trying to have the conversation about getting stuff, especially for black people, right? And you hear the pushback. The pushback is on full display.
I'm not here to fight about what he did, what he didn't do. Is he a good white man? Is he a bad white man? To me, They pretty much all the same. So now,
I don't agree with that.
With that said,
I don't agree with that. I don't agree with. Can I? I don't agree. I used to be.
Look. I know we've had all kind of presidents, and our situation hasn't changed.
And that's the point. That's the point right there. And that is why I have this video on the same video with Dr. Claud Anderson. 1860, 1864, 1865 to the civil rights, same place. 1960 to through a black president, same place, right? This is the petition. This is the plan to petition the parties for, which the politics, that part of it, that's not really the issue of this. The issue to this is we're going to take our issues to the people in power and say, this is what we're going to do with it, right? Right? Now listen, listen to how the kind of discourse that we're going to get out of trying to petition the government as a one solidified group of people.
So that's why I said they're pretty much all the same when it comes to a president and dealing with our situation.
So I gotta ask this question. Because you're on this show with the cocktails with the queens.
And now for the cherry on the cake and the reason why the war is over and we lost and there's nothing else we can do about it.
There's a reason for that. It wasn't to have you defend or not defend Donald Trump. It was about, I care about what's in this contract with Black America for women. And it's not, we're not mentioned at all in the contract with Black America. And
you are mentioned. I mean, when you mention Black people, you mentioning Black women. So don't count yourself out.
No, that's not true.
That's like administration say that when they
Black people is not Black women. Black women are not included in Black people.
No,
and that is why the war is over and we lost. So when people talk about passport bros and SYSBM guys walking away from the community, there's nothing we can do to fix this. This is not in our power to fix. It's not. Let's say that you're the guy and you do everything right. You build up your wealth. You get your wealth just right. You marry the right person, fine. You have kids. You pass on your wealth to your kids. And then your son, he marries a woman like Vivica Fox. Who do you think is going to end up with that wealth that you created? Who's going to end up with that wealth? She is. She's going to drag you to court. And she's going to take that wealth that you generated, and it's going to go from your lineage to somebody else, right? Do you think that Vivica Fox in particular, do you think that she is thinking anything about generational wealth for the kids 5-10 generations after her? No. She's thinking about, I want to get what I want to get because that's what's best for me. We can't build anything on top of this. There's nothing we can build on this. These are the queens. These are the queens. And Ice Cube is bringing legit, straightforward plan of action that's press both parties to see what we can get out of them. And this is why you can see from this argument, this is why one party doesn't feel the need to offer Black people anything. They already have us. Or at least, and the war's over. It's lost. There's nothing we can do. And so in my position, the way I see it is, if you want to get your passport or if you want to just kind of walk away from the community, you're not going to marry a woman with a kid or something and help save the Black community. That's not going to do it. Like, we're going to have to do something that, I don't know if it means that we're going to have to just start a new Black community that's different from I don't know what it is, but it's not this. This ain't it. It's not going to work. There are already projections saying that the net worth of Black people is going to go from 0.5% of 1%, as it was Dr. Claud Anderson was saying earlier. That's going to be less than 0 by 2050. The average, the collective net worth of Black people in America in a decade or two is going to be less than 0. It's unfortunate, man. It's unfortunate, but this is where we are. This is where we are. And if you should, I don't think that any of the passport bros, you don't have any kids. You haven't had any kids. You don't have any kids. You don't have anything tying you down. Go do you, man. Go do you, because this idea of saving the community, save what? This? Ice Cube can barely even have a conversation in this civil discourse. It's over, man. The war is over. It's over, man. There's no saving this. You guys save yourself, black man. And for the women in the channel, hey, save yourself, black women. But specifically men. You guys save yourselves, man. Like, there's a small group of the black community in America that they're going to be the ones that are going to carry the flag. Unfortunately, I'm not part of it. So I'm going to move accordingly. And for you other passport bros out there thinking about yourself, hey, I say you should do the same. Do the same, because if you meet a girl, your woman out there, she's like, oh, I love Vivica Fox. How many hours of Vivica Fox programming do you think that has gotten into that girl? So when she looks at you and she's thinking, I don't know if I want to be with this dude anymore, she's not thinking about generational wealth. She's thinking about, I'm going to do what's best for me. And that whole idea that you had about generational wealth and passing down is done. You're going to end up in a courtroom, paying a bunch of money for lawyers, and that wealth lineage is going to stop with you. And most likely it's going to end up in her hands. I don't think that this is going anywhere that we can fix. I don't think it's fixable, man. Get your passport, do what you're going to do, build your life the place that you see fit. And we're always going to have America. And if something happens and we get our act together, hey, I'll be the first person to donate or vote or participate. I'm cool with that. But this, you gotta let this go, man. Anyways, with that, thanks you guys for watching the video. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to comment and let me know what you think about it, and I'll talk to you guys on the next one.